Alright, for this project you're going to be making what's called a symmetrical or mirror image name drawing. You're going to be using colored pencils and markers and just a regular old number 2 pencil, and you're essentially going to be creating a really interesting composition of your name that's mirror image. So if you look just sort of this half, you can see it says THOLL. And so what I've done is I've taken that and I've reversed this whole thing onto this side to make this mirror image. And I'm going to show you the steps on how to do that right now. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this paper in half. And this is a square paper. It's 9 inches by 9 inches. It doesn't have to be square, but I think it'll look cooler square. So I'm going to line these corners up as close to perfectly as I can. Hold it down. Crease to the middle. Crease crossed. Okay. So now what I've got is I've got 2 halves separated here. If you need to, if you just are very visual, have to have a guideline kind of person, you can draw a line down your crease. Okay. So essentially what I'm going to do is I'm only going to be drawing in this half, and then I'll be folding this paper back over and transferring my drawing onto that other half. Okay. So what you can do here is you can separate the halves. Like if I make my letters not touching this center line, then there's going to be a gap between the 2 sides. However, if I make my letter touch this line or even go over the line, then this side and this side are going to be connected. Okay. So when I'm doing this, I just want to make sure that I'm thinking about, do I want those things to connect? Do I want there to be a gap in the middle? Some of the other, it's all up to you. Okay. So as you're doing this, you just want to make sure that you're thinking through what you want it to look like first, and then you're starting to make that happen. And drawing lightly, of course, so you can change things if something happens you don't like. It's always better to draw light, and you can erase as you go. So I'm first going to kind of sketch out where I want my letters. My last name has 5 letters. So the first thing I'm going to do is kind of find the middle. I know that the middle of my paper is right here, and I know that my O is going to kind of have to fit right there. Okay, so then I know that I can have an L over here, and an L over here, and an H. And so basically by finding that center letter first, I know that I'm going to have equal space for all my letters. A lot of times what will happen is you start with your first letter, you draw really big, and then you don't have room for your other letters here at the end. Okay, so I drew super light. You probably can't see it too well on there. My O's in the middle here first. I'm going to draw these letters in, spaced out evenly. And then I'm just going to start making each letter a little bit unique, kind of filling in the space in a cool way, maybe bringing some of these letters down so they meet the middle. And as I work here, you'll be able to watch kind of what happens. Alright, so now that I've got my name sort of mapped out, I can kind of start to tell sort of the style that I'm going for. Kind of got this wavy sort of look to it. Almost a mixture between block letters and bubble letters. I've left some things to touch and to cross over and some things to leave a gap. So if you look here, the bottom of my O doesn't touch my center line. So when I flip this over, this O is actually going to happen kind of here, and there's going to be a gap between the two. So it's actually going to look like these two ovals in the middle of my page. I've also got this little gap right here, so there's going to be another sort of equal and opposite gap on this side. So there's going to be this little space right here where I can kind of hide, you know, I could draw a little skull or something in that little space too. Whatever you want, it doesn't have to be anything. It could just be a little spiral or something. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start looking for things that I can put in here to make this interesting. So essentially I'm just thinking about designs or things that you like. It could be flames, it could be stripes, it could be, you know, polka dots, it could be simple, it can be really complicated, it can be vines, it can be drips, it can be anything you want really. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start planning this out, and I'm just going to think that everything that I do I'm going to have flipped over and symmetrical on this side when I fold it. So I want to keep things fairly large so that as I'm tracing onto this other side I don't have details too small to match. Okay, so if I'm doing really tiny things, there's more of a chance that I'm going to mess it up when I'm tracing. And that transfer might not happen very easily if the shapes are very small. So I'm going to keep it fairly large, things that aren't really teeny tiny details. Okay. So now in order to get my image to transfer onto this side, I'm going to have to go through and darken all of these lines really nice with my pencil so that when I flip this over I can just kind of rub it on this side and it'll transfer over to this white space. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my drawing, I'm going to fold this back together, and you can kind of see, I can see it really well, but it might not show up as well in the video. I can see all my lines because I went over them really darkly. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take just a ballpoint pen, you can use any color. I'm going to use just this red one, and I am going to just trace over all my lines with pretty hard pressure, so it's going to transfer onto that other side. So when I'm doing this, I need to be careful that as I'm working, the paper is not moving. right? So I actually like to kind of hold it in the middle and work my way from the edges towards the fold, because the fold isn't going to move. It's attached to itself, right? This side is not attached, so it can move. So I like to hold here, do the outsides first, and then sort of work my way to the middle. So now that I've got that all traced with the ballpoint pen, I'm just going to open this up and I'm just going to compare my transfer to my original here and make sure that I didn't miss any marks. It's easy when you're trying to trace through here to miss things just because you can't see them very well. So I think I got everything. So now all I'm going to do is with my pencil, I'm just going to match all these up and make them look nice and dark. So you can see these lines, like this L was touching this bottom line, so now this is one giant shape, whereas the O that was not touching, it has a space in between. So that's kind of a cool effect of this transfer. Surprise, it's done. I really wanted to skip the part where I talk about color and blending and that kind of stuff, because I really want you to make those choices on your own and figure out what you want yours to look like without my influence. But I will sort of discuss the choices that I made that you don't necessarily have to follow. I really liked the symmetry of the letters from side to side. I like that these letters look the same in shape and line, and I wanted to sort of reiterate that with color, but going the opposite way. So the shapes are mirror image this way, and I wanted my colors to be mirror image this way. So this blue is over here, this red is here, and so on. Okay, with the background, I really wanted to, even though all these patterns are different, I wanted to let the colors sort of blend into each other. So if you look here in the middle, I've got this aqua color and red. The aqua blends into light blue, the light blue blends into dark blue, and then the blue blends into black. And then the red blends into orange and then yellow, and then the same going this way. The red blends into pink and then to purple, and the aqua blends into green and then to yellow. And one thing I wanted to focus on was keeping a balance of warm and cool colors. So in my background, I have a warm color and a cool color, warm color, cool color, all the way across. And I tried to sort of bring that into the letters as well, having a nice balance of warm and cool colors. I also used black. If you can look in the background, I used black to sort of create shadows to make it look like these letters are sticking out from the background. That's something you can do. You don't necessarily have to. I just want you to choose the colors you like, decide what you want yours to look like, and just go for it. Don't necessarily feel like you have to do it a certain way. Try to blend and try to do those sort of three-dimensional tricks. Not necessarily something you have to do all over like I did, but I would take the opportunity to try to get better at that and really just work towards making something look really interesting. And I think it turned out really great, and I think yours is going to turn out great too.